Penguin Random House Audio presents Moderation, a novel. This is the author, Elaine Castillo. Come with me if you want to live. T-800 to Sarah Connor. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, 1991. Written by James Cameron and William Wisher. Directed by James Cameron. Still, New Bedford is a queer place. Had it not been for us whalemen, that tract of land would this day perhaps have been in as howling condition as the coast of Labrador. As it is, parts of her back country are enough to frighten one. They look so bony. The town itself is perhaps the dearest place to live in all New England. It is a land of oil, true enough, but not like Canaan. A land, also, of corn and wine. The streets do not run with milk, nor in the springtime do they pave them with fresh eggs. Yet, in spite of this, nowhere in all America will you find more patrician-like houses, parks and gardens more opulent, than in New Bedford. Whence came they? How planted upon this once scraggy scoria of a country? Go and gaze upon the iron emblematical harpoons round yonder lofty mansion, and your questions will be answered. Yes, all these brave houses and flowery gardens came from the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. One and all, they were harpooned and dragged up hither from the bottom of the sea. Moby Dick, Herman Melville. 1. Little Brown Fucking Machine. Girlie was, by every conceivable metric, one of the very best. All the chaff long ago burned up by unquenchable fire. The ones who had hourly panic attacks, the ones who took up drinking, the ones who fucked in the stairwells during break time, the ones who started bringing handguns to the office, the ones who started believing the Holocaust had never happened, or that 9/11 was an inside job, or that no one had ever been to the moon at all, or that every presidential candidate was picked by a cosmic society of devils who communicated across interplanetary channels. The ones who took the work home, the ones who never came back the same, or never came back at all. The floor was now averaging only 3 or 4 suicide attempts a year, down from 1 or 2 a month. The ones who remained, like her, were the wheat. The exemplars, tested paladins, the ones who didn't throw up in the hallway and leave the vomit there. They'd been, to continue speaking of it biblically, separated. None of the white people survived. Not that there were that many of them to begin with. Young middle-class hopefuls bulging with student debt, they'd shown up around the time the position was still being called process executive, back when the site was still in the Bay Area, back when she still lived in the Bay Area, back when any of them still could. Most of the white candidates didn't make it past the initial 3-week training course. The ones who did left within a year. The majority of the workers had been Filipinas, with a smaller minority of Cambodian, Indonesian, Laotian, Vietnamese workers, people who knew about the job through that reliable network still unmatched by LinkedIn, otherwise known as family. People who'd grown up knowing their mothers and aunts had been moderators, and so too would they follow. Sometimes, a particular year, she'd started to think of her surviving cohort as a kind of graduating class, although what they were graduating from or toward, she did not know. Would have 1 or 2 working-class Korean Americans, 1 or 2 Black Americans, usually people who were married to Filipina or Viet employees and had heard about the job through them. Of the 200 or so who worked at the Vegas site, nearly all were women. Nearly all the women were Pinay. To pass her final assessment, Girlie'd had to stand in a conference room of no great nor small size, indistinguishable from the 9 other conference rooms in the building, and, in front of her peers and potential future colleagues, moderate a video of a tied-up and blindfolded young girl of about 6 or 7, who was being made to fillet an unseen man. The girl had bruises along her shoulders. The man, who was recording and audibly enjoying the act, had gray in his pubic hair. The trainees had already been reminded that they wouldn't be allowed to pause the video or remove the audio during their presentation. Earlier that morning, a young Cambodian-American trainee who wore 3 soft friendship bracelets around his left wrist, 2 fraying, 1 new, had moderated a video of a young man, about the same age as himself, being stabbed multiple times, gurgling bright blood into a champion sweatshirt as he abortively begged for something, not quite yet his life. In the middle of his presentation, the young trainee, without pausing the video, discreetly crouched behind his podium to throw up into a waste paper bin he'd presumably positioned there for this very reason. By the time it was Girlie's turn, the room still smelled of pepperoni and bile. Girlie stood in front of her prospective coworkers and managers, presenting a carefully supported case for why the video of the tied-up girl should be banned from the social media site in question on the grounds of child pornography. On the 1 to 5 scale they'd all been taught, the video was a solid 5. One of her potential supervisors challenged her, face stony. How did she know the girl was a child, and not a consenting adult? It was true. They could barely make out the girl's face. Behind the blindfold, on the blurry, blown-up image beamed on the matte white projector screen in front of the 40 faces waiting, as in a court of law, for a verdict. It was true. There were plenty of small-breasted, small-boned women in the world, Girlie among them. It was true. There were plenty of people who cried during sex or liked rough play of all descriptions. This was the real test of the moderator, in the end. Being able to sift through, again and again, each workday's 1,001 true things. This was the real work. Beyond the stabbings, the rapes, the paranoia, the conspiracy theories, the hate speech, the carved-out crater in the living world, where belief had collapsed in on itself like an exploding star, reaching into the wound with 2 clean fingers, pulling out the still steaming metal slug. "The socks," she said. Girlie asked for permission to rewind the video. Permission was granted. Then she aimed her laser pointer toward a corner of the frame, where one of the girl's feet was barely visible. By this point, 4 women had left the room, 1 crying. The red light pinned to the girl's ankle and did not shake. The socks feature an illustration of a main character from the animated Disney film Frozen, Girlie continued. Judging from the scale of the TV remote control next to her leg, I would estimate a girl size 3 or 4. Girlie got the job. So did the young man who threw up before her. He'd thrown up, but he hadn't paused the video. That was good enough. She was proud of herself, but knew she had no real reason to be. The hiring managers weren't all that picky. In the beginning. Think of yourself as someone who makes our social media family a safe and fun place for everybody, that early job description read. The best candidates will not only be able to apply content policy and execute handling procedures with consistency and efficiency, but will also be able to identify subtle differences in the meaning of digital communication and accurately enforce the client's terms of use. Here at Readin', we believe that a community that learns together grows together. You will actively benefit from and participate in employee assistance programs, program reporting initiatives, and appropriate training to foster your well-being and the well-being of our entire employee family. You may find that we love a good party, and you can usually expect one to be happening on campus somewhere. Now come on, we need your full concentration. It's time to imagine what it's like being a content moderator. At the beginning, there were user experience researchers floating around. UXRs, they were called. Forever doing some study or another, there to observe the lives of the moderators, the better to improve said lives. There was the day in the life method, in which a UXR would shadow one moderator throughout the workday, sitting po-faced at her side while she rewound a video of someone's partial decapitation, scribbling in a notepad. There was card sorting, a method meant to uncover the user's mental models to improve informational architecture, in which the UX researchers would hand the moderators a deck of index cards, labeled with categories, sometimes examples of content to be moderated, like disemboweled horse, sometimes pictures of famous Hollywood actors, to be categorized according to the character they most embodied. Action hero for Schwarzenegger, romantic lead for Clooney, etc. Girlie looked at the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?